The Christmas season, traditionally, is a time when bishops write Christmas greetings, which are short pastoral letters. In general, regardless of the literary qualities of the author, in general, they are letters that carry a message of peace, a message of family, and also, many of them, an invitation to conversion. Among all the letters I have been able to read, and certainly I have not read all of them, I liked very much the one from the French bishop, the Bishop of Nanterre, Monseigneur Rouge. He reflects on the current situation of the Church and says that historically, the times of crisis of the Church have also coincided with the times of crisis of faith, and affirms there is no other way for the Church today than Jesus Christ. I really liked this statement because there is so much discussion about whether or not Jesus Christ has become outdated, that this resounding statement really puts us on the true path of renewal. There is no other way for the Church today than Jesus Christ. The times of crisis of faith have always been times of crisis of the Church. And this reminded me of one of the symbols of the metaphors that were used almost from the beginning by the fathers of the Church. Christ the Sun, the Church the Moon. Saint Ambrose of Milan, the famous bishop who was so influential in the conversion of Saint Augustine, although surely based already on what had been said before by Origen, and possibly before that by the Greek philosopher Anaximander, Saint Ambrose says, remembers, uses the symbol of the sun and the moon, and remembers that there is no light of its own in the moon, and that the light of the moon only exists if it is oriented to the sun. The moon has no light, and he says the Church is the moon. The moon has no light. The moon as well as the Church are of no interest if they are not reflecting the light of the sun. Christ is the sun. Christ is the one who has his own light. The Church is of no interest to anyone, not even to those who apparently say it does. The Church is of no interest to anyone if it is not reflecting Christ, referring to Christ. One of the most influential in the Second Vatican Council, de Lubac, a very important Jesuit theologian who was later appointed cardinal by St. John Paul II, meditating on what was happening in the post-conciliar Church, wrote a book, Paradox and Mystery of the Church. He refers to this metaphor of the sun and the moon and says that the moon goes through phases. It can be shining enormously when we call the full moon. It could be in a waxing or waning quarter, or it can be missing when we call the new moon. He says that to the extent that the Church is faithful to Jesus Christ, speaks of Jesus Christ, is centered in Jesus Christ, to that extent it shines. And if not, it goes to a waning quarter, more and more waning until it disappears. Now then, is the new moon good for something? That is to say, the moon that does not illuminate, is it good for anything? Saint Ambrose also reflects on that and says that when there is a new moon, the moon that does not reflect the light, the moon that is not seen, he says, is the time when the lands are filled. He says that the foundations are filled. Nature, biology teaches us that a new moon is also very useful because at that time At that stage of the new moon or waning quarter, at that stage the roots and leaves will grow much less. And it is a time when you have to take advantage to maintain the plants and seeds. It is the time when you have to take care of the soil so that later when the sun comes, of course, and the full moon, it will grow better, more quickly. That is to say, in a moment in which the moon, which is the sun, is not giving us the light that we need, that we want. In a moment like this, or it is not giving it to us as much as we need and want it, in a moment like this, what we have to do is to remember the sun, to remember the light of Christ. It is a moment of deep faith. The night is dark, or there is barely a small luminous arc in the moon, still reflecting the light of the sun. And this makes us suffer enormously. We long, we yearn for the light of the sun, and we do not have it, or we do not have it enough. So, it is a moment of faith, because faith, trust has to be put into practice practically when you do not have what you are trusting in, what you are believing in. It is a moment to make use of the memory, to remember the moments in which we have been enlightened, as the letter to the Hebrews says. Those moments in which we have had light, the light of the sun or of the full moon. This is the moment we live. This is a moment of faith and also a moment of hope, because there is a promise and we believe in the promise of Jesus Christ. The gates of hell shall not prevail. We have faith. We remember the moments of light, and we have hope that a better situation will come. That after the new moon will come the full moon again. And at this moment the lands are being loaded, as St. Ambrose said. That is, at this moment is when we are putting down firm roots, although apparently they grow very little. In addition, there is something else. When the moon is new, when there is no moon, when it is not seen, normally, unless there are clouds, you can see the stars very well. Tagore said, if you cry because the sun is gone, the tears will prevent you from seeing the stars. Well, it is a phrase of this Indian thinker. Actually, the stars are part of the moon in our case. I mean the saints. They are part of the moon because they are the church, part of the church, starting with the Blessed Virgin Mary. But not only the saints of the calendar, the canonized saints, the famous saints, not only St. Francis, who is a splendid light, St. Ignatius, an extraordinary light, St. Teresa, not only them, but also those new saints that, although it does not seem so, exist and also increase. They are growing, contrary to what it may seem. I am not the one to canonize them, but I dare to say that there are the confessors of today, those who confess the faith, the true faith in the midst of this darkness. There are those stars, those luminous points that exist within the moon, within the church. And I think of cardinals like Cardinal Muller, Cardinal Sarah, but also as Cardinal Laderia or Cardinal Ouellet have recently demonstrated. So many bishops, some paying a high price, priests, lay people who are not only keeping alive their faith, their hope, but who are also defending the faith peacefully but courageously, and confronting the powerful who sometimes charge against them violently, especially through most powerful media. We are already at Christmas. We long for that light. We long for the light. We ardently desire it. We need it. We want the light, but we know where it is. We are fortunate because we know where it is. The light has already been born. The light has come to the world. The light is Jesus Christ our Lord, and this is Christmas. We go to the portal to find there the child, together with his mother, together with Saint Joseph, and to say to the child, we believe in you, we hope in you, and we want to defend you. And to tell the child what Saint Peter didn't say to him on that terrible night when he was being judged in the house of Caiaphas. Saint Peter said, I do not know him. With the grace of God, we say, I do know you. I am not ashamed of you. I am not ashamed of your teachings. I am not ashamed of your human and divine person. I believe in you, Lord. I hope in you, and I want to peacefully defend you, because you and only you are my light. You are the one who forgives my sins and the one who gives meaning to my life. Christ is the light. The way of the church is Jesus Christ alone. We believe in that and we have hope. Merry and Holy Christmas to you all.